Hey everybody, welcome to our lesson on pragmatic optimism. So I'm excited about this one because it ties in two completely different things that don't often go together, and that being optimism and pragmatic acceptance. So we're just going to dive right into it. Let's talk about what pragmatic means, all right? It means dealing with things sensibly and realistically in a way that is based on practical rather than theoretical considerations. This is hard, right? Because life is hard and the world is tricky. And so it's sometimes very difficult, especially when there's something that's emotionally charged, something that's about to really suck, to not get stuck in the emotion of it, to try and remain practical and reasonable. Acceptance, another key word. We put these two together and we've got pragmatic acceptance. It is the action of consenting to receiving or undertake something offered. Like, that's important, right? Because so often I think we hear the word acceptance thrown around, but like they see the definition, we're giving permission to do something, right? Or for something to be done to us. Right. And that is part of life, right? Pragmatic acceptance is a part of most things in life. But so hearing pragmatic acceptance might sound new, but I know something we've all heard, especially coming from the military, and it is what it is, right? That is pragmatic acceptance. Just what are some times, like some examples? I know I've got a bajillion of them, but what are some of those it is what it is moments that you've had?
My tire blows out. I got a flat
tire.
There you go. If there's something I can do about it, great, I'll do it. If there's not, then oh well. But I can stress about the fact that I can't get to work now, or I can solutionize and figure out the best way to do that. It's really stuff as simple as that.
Yeah, and that's the thing with pragmatic acceptance is it is what it is, right? Yeah. But I think so often we get stuck in, if there's a problem set or if something sucks, oh, it is what it is. It's the beginning of the problem set. It's not the end. It doesn't have to stay this way. And that's what we want to talk about is, what can you do to improve on it? And so we already know we can't change the situation, right? Your tire blew out. Nothing you can do about that.
Right.
But we can change our behavior. And when we change our behavior in things, that's going to lead us to a lot of good things. And those good things are actually backed by science. It's weird that all this stuff is actually backed by science. Who would have thought? But improved brain chemistry, because when we switch our behavior, that can lead to endorphins. Endorphins, you guys have heard me say this, endorphins are free drugs.
Yeah.
I love some endorphins. There's a lot of ways to get them. But what that results in is feeling more positive, energized, improved immune response, and reduced stress. So let's think about that. What are some times where it is what it is, right? This is the situation. There's nothing I can do to change that, but I can change my behavior. I'll give an example, and I want to hear from you guys. So stupid. So stupid what I used to do, but I did it all the time. So in deployment, we're going on patrol. My squad and I are getting ready to go outside the wire to a very dangerous area to go get shot at for a living. Cool. It is what it is. That is the situation. There's nothing I can do to change that mission set or anything else. And because of that, everyone's in a funk. No one really wants to go do that. And so I can change my behavior. That's going to change my outlook on it and the guys I'm going with. And so what I used to do, this is so stupid, I named our vehicle Rocket after Rocket from Little Einsteins on the Disney Channel. So if you're unfamiliar, Little Einsteins had a red rocket that they zipped around in. And to power the rocket, you had to pat on your lap. And so I would get into the truck and I would go, all right, guys. And I would go to my driver. I'm like, Rivera's patting. And he would pat, Sergeant. And then I would name them all. Morton, Valdez, everyone's patting, but we need more power. And then I would start patting. And we would sing the Rocket song on the way to the wire to go on patrol every freaking time. And the paradigm shift, the whole perspective of what we were doing changed drastically. And so, it is what it is. It's going to suck, but it doesn't mean it has to suck.
Absolutely.
What about you guys?
Yeah, so I think about, when there's relationship challenges, when we want to get all internal and we start using some of those poor behaviors, some of those poor coping mechanisms, well, change how you do it. See where you can change. It may be, get up and go to the gym. Get up and just lift weights. Get some energy going. Do something different behaviorally yourself just to make that shift. That's a common one.
Yeah. Well, I can tell you as a teacher for 15 years, working in private Jewish day schools the entire time. It is what it is was pretty much the response from an administration for everything. It's we don't have the curriculum. It is what it is. Figure it out. No matter what the problem was, the answer was in one form or another. Is this is the hand you've been dealt? Deal with it. And what comes out of that is, again, you can wallow in that and try to make it through, or you can say, okay, well, if this is what it is, I'm going to make it something different. And so that was the approach that I took. Is with every single position I had, every single job I had, it was always, what can I do with what I have now, and then what can I do beyond that? So referencing going to networking events in Manhattan at 10 o'clock at night as a rabbi, that was because I was actively looking for ways to improve my job, to improve what I had. So when I had these visitors coming to my classroom to do, science experiments, to try out the latest ed tech with my students, and none of the other classes had that. That's because I took it is what it is and took it to the next level of, well, what else can it be? So just because it is what it is doesn't mean it has to remain there. It's okay. Well, what can we? This is the base of the foundation of what we have right now. What can I do with more than that? One of my all-time favorite quotes comes from J.K. Rowling, the author of Harry Potter, and she said that it was upon rock bottom that I built a solid foundation, and that's what it is. It's okay. This is rock bottom in this moment. Whether it's work, whether it's family, it's not going to get lower than this. But I'm going to build something solid off of that. I'm going to progress forward from there.
Yeah, and it's so often, we can get stuck in the is what it is. We could even change our behavior and maybe elevate our mood. But a lot of times what jams us up is then, is there even hope, though, that it can improve, right? And I'm going to share one more story because it really illustrates this and when I've seen it actually happen in my life in real time. My very first unit of assignment, I was in something called a striker unit. We were the first ones ever. It was General Shinseki's big brainchild, that and the Black Beret. Thank you, sir. But at any rate, it was a new concept. And so what we were tasked to do essentially was take everything that would be available to brigade and make it organic to a company. So what that looked like was, snipers, mortars, medics, forward observers, everything at the tankers in an infantry battalion. You kidding me? And all at the company level. And it had never been done before. And we knew we were going to be in this first shoot for the invasion. So that's the landscape. We've got X amount of time to make it happen. We don't know how it's going to work, but we've been assured the battalion commander is going to this meeting. And when he gets back from that, he's going to brief us. So for months, that's what we're telling friends, families, everyone, don't worry, the battalion commander's got a meeting. It's going to be fine. Don't worry, right? Day of, battalion commander standing in front of his entire battalion. He's like, okay, so you guys want to know how this is going to work, right? We're like, yup. And he's like, I don't know. It was probably the greatest example of a tactical pause I've ever seen in my life. Because he goes, I don't know, but we're going to figure it out together. Yeah. And in that moment, in that one statement, he showed pragmatism. I don't know. It is what it is. Like, it is going to be an asymmetrical thing to make happen. But the hopefulness, we're going to figure it out together. And not just hopefulness for him, but now all of us are hopeful, right? It was a big thing. And so that's the next point, is the optimism side, right? It's being hopeful and confident about the future or successful outcome of something. When he made that statement to us, immediately we said, okay, yeah, we looked to our left and right. Yeah, we can figure this out. We know each other. This is going to be awesome. Like, how I know you guys have seen that.
So, military example is, I think, of one of my personal heroes, Admiral James Stockdale, prisoner of war in Vietnam at the Hanoi Hilton for 7-8 years, known for a quote where he says, and listen, if somebody survived being a POW in Vietnam, I'm kind of going to listen to them when it comes to their advice on how you do this. He said, look, you can never afford to lose faith that in the end you're going to win, and also face the brutal realities of your life.
But what hope is the expectancy of the unseen, the expectation, and you said it, Aaron, faith for a certain thing to happen. You can try and math it out however you want. You can do quantitative analysis. You can do a whole spreadsheet showing all the times that something worked out this way or that way. But the reality is, like, to really move forward in anything, you've just got to have faith, and faith is blind. There's no evidence to support it. So it's a scary thing. But with hope is another skill, right? And I'll cop to this one. I suck at hope. Have my whole life, right? I think it's because of my upbringing, whatever, we can spend some time on the couch with it later. But it's a skill. To be hopeful, I am married to the most hopeful person on the frickin' planet. That girl, the sky can literally like, it'll buff. Like, and it's not like it'll buff, we'll figure it out. It's like, it's going to be great. It's going to fall in just the right place. Like, you're crazy, but okay, I'm rolling with it. And it's one of those things that the more you do it, the better you're going to get at it. And there's some ways to do it organically, and they're right here in front of us. It's just kind of changing the way you operate in the situation. Again, changing our behaviors. If the sky was falling, she would 100% go, oh, this is great, because that corner of the sky at the back door was really bothering me, right? Just immediately change the way you see it. I can work with this. I mean, that one, guys, I can work with this. That's kind of like our go-to. And then if all else fails, you can go with, well, at least, right? Because there is hope in, well, at least the sky didn't fall right on my head. I mean, which one of these? Mine is probably, I can work with this. That's like my favorite sentence starter. What about you guys?
I like that one too, because that forces you to ask, well, why can't I work with this?
Right.
It forces you, it's a forcing mechanism to make you look for, all right, well, what can I do with this? You can build a lot of stuff with junk.
Yeah. I'm in agreement with you guys. I like B a lot. I can work with this because, like you said, it forces you to create something. It forces you to move on from there. This is great because it's also great because now we're taking what looks like a negative and flipping it into a positive. I mean, just getting here, you guys know, because my Sabbath ended at 7:24, and it takes 30 minutes to get to the airport. The flight was boarding at, I think, 8:15, and I'm a guy who gets to the airport 2.5 hours early. So giving myself such little time to get there, I showed up with 7 minutes to spare. Like, that was amazing. But it's, this is a situation I have. I'm going to make the best of it, and we're going to make this work. And the positive of that was I didn't have to wait very long to get on the plane.
And so that's such a great example of how these 3 sentence starters go together, right? Yeah. Once you're a pro, you'll be able to start at 1A. That'll be your go-to. Yeah. But as you build this skill, you're going to start at Charlie, right? And so if we use that example of my time to come back into the world and affect things is this. Yeah. Well, at least it's not an hour later, or at least there was a flight that I might be able to make, right? Yeah. And then you get there and you see that there's a flight, you see that it's going to hopefully shake out. Okay, I can work with this, right? And then when you get to the backside of it, now it's all shook out. You go, this is great because I didn't have to wait at the gate for an hour and a half. Right. This is great because there was a ride, like everything shook out exactly. Yeah. And so as you work this skill, you'll go from, well, at least to this is great.
And not only that, it's also that the more you apply, like you say, how do I build optimism? If I'm living in a place where my life is falling apart, how do I build optimism? Well, you build it by looking back at everything that's happened up until now and seeing just how it did play out for your better. Like, who would have thought that my wife and I would be living in Dallas when we swore we would never live in Dallas?
Right.
Who would have thought that we would have lived in Brooklyn when I swore I would never live in New York? Like, all these things. But then at the end of the day, you look one point to another point to another point that led you to where you are today and all the great things that have happened. Sure, there's been shit along the way, but look at where you are. There's so much more goodness, there's so much more positivity. And by looking back at all those things that have worked out, that's how you're able to say, now in the moment, right now, at things like all hell is breaking loose. But I know that at the end of the day, this will work.
And that's exactly what number 2 says, is practice gratitude, right? And gratitude, as a skill, if you're trying to build it, it's a good skill to build retrospectively, right? It's easier to start out practicing gratitude, looking back at all the good things. But again, once you become a pro at it, it'll be in the moment. And maybe not instantaneous, but really close after that. Aaron, I know you're a big fan of gratitude.
Well, so, and often when we think gratitude, we're, I'm grateful for the house, I'm grateful for the car. Be grateful for who you are.
Yes.
Be grateful for what you bring to the table. Literally, be grateful that when you walk in the room, everybody's safer. That's the next level of practicing gratitude that's not based on circumstance, but it's based on identity, who you really are, whether anybody else sees it or not.
And yeah, 100% agree. Like there's a lot of different ways to take gratitude, but I think focusing on the fact that I love that everyone's safer because you're in the room. That's my jam, man. And that brings us to the actual, like the tactical part of this, the one that's like, here's the steps to get better at being hopeful. You don't want to set yourself up for failure, right? You want to be intentional. There's a design. So you want to set achievable goals. And this is my whole jam. You guys know how I feel about back planning. Mm-hmm. Achievable goals that have standards and realistic benchmarks. All right. So that means that, they're time bound. This is a have to thing. But if you put these things on your calendar, that pie in the sky dream, that unattainable thing that you didn't have hope that you could achieve is now, well, that's only 3 steps away, right? Clear and concise expectations of people around you. Like that is something we suck at as dudes. I'll just be very candid. We hold ourselves to an extraordinarily high standard of excellence. And I'm talking to you right now. You hold yourself to a degree of performance that you do not impose on anyone else. You let other people get away with absolute murder. Yep. And if you fall just a rung short, you're the scourge of the earth, right?
Yep.
Now, I'm not saying put your crazy high standard on the people, but it is okay to have some standard of conduct for the people you let in your circle. It's okay to put yourself surrounded by friends to your destiny. Nothing wrong with that.
Goes back to what we've said over and over again. Valuing yourself, in healthy ways, valuing yourself.
So there's a quote, you are a direct reflection of the 5 people you spend the most time with. So if you feel down on yourself and you're constantly putting yourself down, check the people that you're spending time with, because chances are those are people who are either putting you down or they put themselves down. So all you know is negativity towards self. But when you start surrounding yourself with people who in your eyes have more value than you are better than you, whatever it may be, even if you don't feel like you're ready for that or you deserve that, heck, I don't feel like I deserve to be in the company of these 2 great men. But I know that by putting myself there, they're going to lift me up to their standards. And I know that also, to an extent, I am at their standards. I am already providing that value. So get yourself out of the hellhole. Get yourself into a place where you're setting yourself up for success by surrounding yourself with people who are there or are even working, because that is a huge thing. May not be there yet, but are committed to working to get there together.
Exactly. Yeah, we're going that way. You going that way? All right, let's go. The other thing, measurable data, right? I'm like, you're laughing because I'm a dork, right? I am all about numbers and data and spreadsheets, and don't get me started. I get up at 3:30, and by 4:30, I've got 3 new spreadsheets. And as soon as Jess gets up at 5:30, I'm back briefing on all the numbers. It's crazy, and she, bless her heart, she listens to me. But the last one I want to hit on, and this one is crucial, and it is what we are talking about in all of this, is accountability. You are the first and hardest person to convince of anything. You're also the last person that is going to pull your own bitch card a lot of the time. And so what you need is accountability partners, not people who are going to say good job when you suck, not people who are going to say you suck when you did a good job. People are going to really hold you accountable to the standards that you set for yourself, the clear, measurable goals. These guys are not going to let me slip, and they know I'm not going to let them slip either. You need to have actual accountability.
Yeah. So, we avoid accountability because we don't like it. We want to be these independent steamers. We want to do it all on our own. But that's not how this really works. That's not how you're going to get to the next level of where you want to go. Hopefully you want to go there, but you're not going to get there without accountability. Everybody talks about personal growth. That's like the cool thing, personal growth. There is no personal growth without personal accountability. It doesn't happen. So yeah, accountability, spot on.
Listen, the friend that I lost to suicide, I mean, again, he was doing it all right. He was going to the doctors, he was seeing a therapist, he was going to healing retreats, he was doing it all. what ended up happening at the very end was he went down a route where he was going to people that couldn't and wouldn't hold him accountable. I think about it every day. What if he had called me and I could have told him, hold up, you're considering taking your life because things aren't going the way you wanted. What about all those things that we said we were going to do? Because we were going to do healing retreats together. We had, similar to what we were doing, we were going to go after that. But he didn't. And instead, he gave into what he was going through. So accountability is so extremely important because it's not there for somebody to, yeah, you're going to get a hug from them, but it's also a slap in the face. It's a wake up. It's a, hey, you've got more to do that you need to be focusing on and pursue that. And it's somebody there to do it with you.
And that's really, that is the cornerstone of accountability. It's not just empty platitudes. It's not go get them tigers. It's not that's pure gold if it's pure trash, right? It's transparent. It's honest. It cares about you, not how you're feeling, right? It's important. So to wrap this one up, we're just going to talk real quickly about some ways to practice optimism and hope every day. And these aren't, I'm not going to say you got to go meditate on a hilltop in Tibet. It doesn't take a lot of make lists. Are you guys list makers?
Oh yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
Too many.
Do you make lists, and then at the end of the day, if you did something that's not on the list, do you add it to the list so you can check it off?
Yep.
Ooh, that's a good one.
I do.
Yeah.
That's how deep it runs.
I've got notebooks filled with lists.
Organize your home office space. I have folders, even my computer. It's folders with subfolders with tabs and subfolders. I'm a nerd. Personal development books. Okay. I'm a word of caution. Okay? Word of caution.
Yeah.
If the person that is talking to you in the book, the podcast, the blog, whatever the hell it is, if they're not where you want to be, don't listen to them. And I don't just mean financially. I mean, is their family right? Is their heart right? Is their head in the right place? If those are no's, turn it off. Even if it's me, trust it. And then be in the sunshine. Good Lord.
Yeah.
Get outside. I'm telling you, it makes a huge difference. Have weekly meetings with your family. Or if you can go next level, as often as you can. I mean, my tribe, you guys know this, we have dinner together every single night. We are that weird family still that sits down and has dinner together. And ask for help from friends and advisors. Hit it. What are our favorites, guys?
I love all these, but I'm just going to reiterate it again because, you guys are starting to figure this out about me. Some of you may look at this list and go, yeah, I'm doing that one. I'm not doing this. It's not freaking about perfection. It's about progress. So, being in the sunshine, good Lord, how many times have we been on, I've been on deployment on ships where I would stay inside the skin of the ship for 2, 3, 4 days at a time without even going out. It's crazy making. You and your corporate job, maybe you feel like a rat in a maze, you're doing an office job, and yeah, you've got a window, but you can never open it, because you're on the 10th story, whatever. Get purposeful about these things. Some of this, be in the sunshine. That may sound simplistic. There's science behind this and what it does to your body. So
I would have to say my favorite are definitely the whole personal development, the books, the podcasts, the blogs. You walk into my apartment, it's a small apartment, but you see books everywhere. And I don't think I've even gotten through a quarter of them. Like there's so many there, but I collect them, I read them. I'm in the middle of 15 different books at this time. But it's whatever hits me in that moment, whatever I need. Heck, I brought 3 books on this trip. I'm not going to have time to read 3 books. But I'm doing it because I want to do this topic. I want to do that topic. And it's speaking to me in some way. And then, of course, asking for help from trusted friends, advisors, and family. That is the one of the things I will give myself credit for is always being able to pinpoint who is somebody, like you said, who's further along in life. They're where I want to be, and they can teach me something, and I'm going to learn from them. Even if it makes me look like a fool, because I guarantee you, people who are successful want to give you that information. They want to share their success with you. And they will always be happy to pour into you, to give you more information, to give you advice, to give you coaching if you just ask. But you have to be the one to ask.
Man, if you're looking for someone to emulate, this was my experience in the military, and I've carried it in the civilian sector. If you don't feel like you're not good enough to talk to them, then they're not the one you want to chase after. You gotta almost feel nervous to go ask them for help.
Absolutely.
That's how you start finding the people, because they're where you want to be one day, right? So last thing to wrap this up, just some homework, but over the next couple of weeks, try and implement this. Try and work in pragmatic optimism into just how you're doing life, and just look for ways, like we said, we can't change the situation, but we can change our behavior. And I would be willing to bet, and you guys can agree, every situation you find yourself in will be exponentially better if you can alter your behaviors and flex a little hope.
Yeah.